if you look at the numbers today, India went from not being in the top 10 of GDP. They were not a name that was being talked about. Then they went into top 10. Then you moved into number 5. Then you dropped to number 7. Then I think right now you're number 6 GDP. But India's come up. Walk us through the history of what's happened to India, specifically, say the last 60 years. What changes has India gone through the last 60 years?
Well, first of all, the GDP calculation you are relying is on basis of the exchange rates which prevail in the market. But we economists don't use that. We use what is called as the purchasing power parity rate, which means if I'm going to evaluate tomatoes in my or pizzas in my GDP, either I will use the American price or the Indian price because the quality is the same. So the valuation goes up, and we are actually in absolute GDP now the 3rd largest in the world.
I saw that.
And not 5th or 6th, which is subject to the exchange rate. The exchange rate devalues, our GDP also goes down. So I think India has come a long way because we were really exploited and completely drained of resources during the British period. Before that, we had the Islamic invasions, which destroyed our country in many ways. And then after the independence, we began really at the bottom of the heap. And over the years, we would have gone much faster and much further had we not adopted the Soviet socialism for the first 40 years. And now, in the last 6 years, unfortunately, our Prime Minister is innocent of economics. So he has been doing a lot of ad hoc things which have failed. And if you look at our GDP graph, this growth rate has been declining consistently from 2016. And now it's in minus because of the corona, but we were down to just 3% in the last quarter before the corona virus pandemic came. So we can turn around and we can grow very fast because the amount of potential we have is enormous. I could deliberate on that during the course of the interview. But I would say that if India wanted to overtake China, it can do so. And if India wanted to challenge the United States, which is United States, the main strength is your ability to innovate and bring in new innovations and raise the productivity of capital and labor. And we have shown, our Indians in the United States have shown that we got as much brains as the Americans. So therefore, if India were to develop its educational system properly, I think we could be a challenge to the United States and overtake China in the next 10, 15 years.
That's a pretty bold statement to make, to say overtake China in the next 10 to 15 years, which we'll get into that here in a minute. But prior to getting into that, in the US, Gandhi is seen as a hero. Who is Gandhi to you?
Mahatma Gandhi was a man who actually converted the fight for freedom from just petitioners that we had before, highly educated people who went to Cambridge and Oxford and qualified at the bar of law. And but he he himself was, of course, trained educated in England. He became a barrister. He went and practiced in South Africa for some time. But he has completely transformed himself. He started wearing Indian clothes, and that too of the poor farmer. And then he converted this fight for independence into a mass movement. And he had ideas which, we found it very difficult in our modern world to practice. But his direction was super. He wanted India to stand on its own feet. And he thought that we had the resources to do that, which he was right. But I think subsequently his successor or his nominated successor in the government, Mr. Nehru, didn't follow anything of his ideology. And so he just remains as a kind of an emotional figure, as one who got his freedom, but not that his ideology has been given a go-by.
So if you like this little short clip from an interview I did, click over here to watch the entire interview. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.